Good afternoon, I'm Rick Dancer. Get Real with Rick Dancer. We are at Gun Runner Arms in Junction City. A lot of people this campaign and this election are very concerned about their Second Amendment gun rights. And we're going to be talking to Boice, one of the candidates running for 4th Congressional District. He's running against Art Robinson. We're going to talk with him in just a couple of minutes. But first, we want to talk with the owner of this gun shop, Scott, and find out a little bit about what he's hearing, what he's concerned about with the candidate. And then we'll get to Boice and find out more about what he's talking about. But as I said, people are super concerned about their Second Amendment rights. And this is a gun shop, as I said, Gun Runner Arms in Junction City. I keep wanting to say Cottage Grove because I was there last week and spending my whole time. This is Scott, one of the owners. Dad and him own this place. You guys started this 6 years ago?
Yes, we did.
So what are you hearing from people?
I hear a lot of people concerned on gun rights. Unfortunately, I feel like we're not really being heard. When guns are a topic, they don't ask gun experts. They ask people who have feelings and emotion towards things without any actual experience.
So on a daily basis, people coming in here, purchasing guns, nervous about guns, their rights, and stocking up?
They are. A lot of people are afraid of losing common items that we're using nowadays, like 30-round magazines, or using semi-automatic rifles or pistols. So a lot of them, people are trying to stock up on it before they get banned.
So when you're voting this coming, the primary and the election, what you're looking for state and national candidates who are going to protect your right.
Exactly, because a lot of people don't listen to us, and they bring up things that they feel is right without knowing any of the facts. So having somebody on our side that actually understands the rulings to help kind of explain.
What don't we understand?
A lot of times, too, for certain things, I just had a guy come in today, and he was asking about registration, saying he was afraid on having guns registered in his name, and he was doing some transferring, so he was afraid that, getting it out of his name and transfer it to a new person. But there is no such thing as that, but a lot of people think that there is, when actually there's a form and paperwork and paper trail for it to go through, rather than an actual type in, this person owns all these guns. It's more of a, was this gun in a crime? They look at the manufacturer, they go to the distributor, and then that distributor says they sold at this gun shop. They get the 4473 who it was originally sold to, and then after that, it goes to the original purchaser. They ask what happened to the firearm. It could be that they lost it. It was stolen out of their car or something like that. They have a police report. It could be that they sold it to another gun shop, sold it to another person. There's a paper trail to follow. It isn't something you just type in and find, this person has all these guns. And that's what a lot of people think is what's implemented, but it's not.
So you would say they're going off their emotions rather than the actual facts of what people have to do. Is
Exactly.
it hard to get a gun?
It is. It's not as easy as people think it is. There's no gun show loopholes or anything like that. What it is, you have to go through a background check. And I had another guy come in this morning, and he wasn't sure if he had a felony because he had 2 DUIs, and he wasn't sure if he was a felon. And I said to him, you have to talk to a lawyer about that, because if you run it, when you sign on the back of it, it's an affidavit. So you're committing another felony, so people can use that to arrest again, so that way we stop criminals. As long as their name's in the system and the other agencies haven't failed to implement them in there, then they'll get caught and they won't be able to buy a new firearm.
Okay, so really quick, because we want to get to court. But get to court. That sounds funny, court. We got to get to court. One of the things you're very concerned about, a lot of organizations, is this Measure 43. Is that what it is? Is it Measure 43?
Yes.
And while court, as a federal law, or as a congressman, would not be able to do anything about that, it is something that concerns you to have people above our state system that understand that what federal law really does in conjunction with state law.
Exactly. A lot of people say that the Second Amendment is a outdated right. And again, a lot of people have used the instances of saying that a phone, that you're texting or doing any of that kind of stuff is not freedom of speech, because our forefathers would never have foreseen cell phones. Gun technology, even then, there was advancements then that have shown that have been modernized today. So saying that guns and our rights in that are outdated is not their right to say that and allowed to take away from us. And from the state point of view, they don't have the right, because in the Constitution, as anything not listed in the Constitution is left up to the states to interpret, and that's number two. And I feel that on the federal level, people understanding that and pushing that, saying you can't create these ridiculous laws because you're first not experts, and second, you don't have the right.
All right, Scott, thanks. I got you guys. So the reason we're here is because Court Boice is here. He's running for 4th Congressional District, which, if you don't know, is basically most of Lane County, right?
All of Lane County.
All of Lane County, some of Lynn.
Yes. Some
Curry.
of Benton, Curry, Coos, Douglas, part of Josephine County.
So this is the
7
seat
different counties.
currently held by Peter DeFazio on the
Correct.
Democratic ticket. You're on the Republican ticket, but this time in the primary you're running against Art Robinson, who's run a number of times before. So gun rights. This is the reason we're here is because you said this is where I want to go because this is a big issue for you.
It's a big issue for Oregon. It's a big issue for America, as you know, Rick. Hey, thanks to Scott and Adam and you for giving me an opportunity to reach your viewers. So, yeah, the Second Amendment is something we need to teach our kids. It's something that we need to be aware of. Being in this gun shop, there's just a little smell of gunpowder here, and that is that's just a feeling of safety. That's a feeling of security. You know, we all have a right and a responsibility to protect ourselves, to protect our neighbors, protect our families, and protect the peace. Sometimes the police can't get there, so we have to help them. A lot of law enforcement in my family background. The Second Amendment wasn't for hunting, for goodness sakes. We know that. The settlers were so tired of the British kicking in their door in the middle of the night and harassing and tyrannizing their families, and so that's what brought us the Bill of Rights. That's what brought us the Fourth Amendment, which basically says, you know, no unreasonable search and seizure. And two, the Second Amendment clearly defines and makes sure that whatever, well, in those days that would have been what the government had, or the British in particular had, that the settlers could and the American citizens could have the same rights, the same opportunities, the same firepower, updated as the governments. And so, as you know, our founding fathers knew if we didn't have enough government, we would have tyranny. If we had too much, we would have anarchy. So that was the system they developed.
You see it as a balancing factor? That's
It
the
might
unfortunate thing about
might be a
Facebook
better
Live
candidate.
is when the phone rings, you can't shut it. I tried putting it in an airport once; it doesn't work.
Oh.
So you just have to hang it up when they call. So anyway, in terms of what do you say to people who say, well, but who needs a semi-automatic weapon?
There again, you got to understand what the difference is, and I think we all need to be educated on that. I know I'm being educated more on that. I don't have any semi-automatic or automatic weapons, but I want the right to have that, and that's why I've got an A from the NRA and the Oregon Federation of Firearms.
Scott, move up here, just real fast. So,
Scott, clarify that.
Yeah, do people not understand what a semi-automatic is? A big term.
Mm-hmm. It is, and it's when you pull the trigger once and it resets. That's a semi-auto, what it does. There's double actions, of course, which is very similar to that as you pull the trigger and it resets, but it's a different type of mechanism. So a lot of people think that, like with 43 here in the state, they're trying to outlaw semi-automatics, pretty much, because they title them assault rifles, which actually is not a classification of a firearm. And so what it is that it outlaws about 90% of what people use. All handguns pretty much are semi-autos and have the same features, or they're double-action revolvers. Nobody's going to be slinging around a single-action cowboy gun, So I mean, that's just kind of.
So it's a term that sounds like it just covers certain gun, like just those big, the things that we see that we think of as an assault rifle, but
Exactly.
really what it's covering is just about a huge percentage of what people have.
It
I'm not a
is.
gun guy, so I'm asking.
No, definitely. And I mean, in my shop, about 90% of it is semi-automatics. Because a lot of sporting rifles and that AR-15s are very popular, and a lot of people think of them as the assault rifle, and people come in and say that. But the thing is that it's the most versatile because it allows for you to teach your family. Had a guy come in, he wanted one for his his wife, and his daughter, something they all can use. And with the telescoping stock, allowed for his 11-year-old daughter and him, who was about 6'4", to handle the gun equally, and so therefore a wide range.
Well, gentlemen, I hear Steven saying my brother used his gun to prevent my father from being murdered. So those are the things, Court, you're talking about. That kind of stuff is that we have the ability to protect ourselves.
Yeah, and we need to learn this. We were talking about education. We need to teach our kids. We need to keep the debate going so that we all understand this is the American West here. This is what built the best country in the world is, not sound trendy or something, but God, guts, and guns. So, when you look at it that way, and the people that are really, the individual rugged individualist. That is what America's about, and I think we have to understand that's part of our history. It's certainly part of Oregon's history. So what we can do at the national level is be part of that education, and yes, understand the Second Amendment. That's not going to change. Can't change.
Right. I think that there's a lot of what I'm learning, and like I said, I'm not a gun carrying guy yet. Working on that now, but. I think there's a lot of people, and this is not a Democrat or Republican issue.
Should not be.
I have friends in both camps who are gun owners, and they want to keep that right. They're pretty worried about it. So do this for me, because it's not all about guns. Well, he's got his gun. So what are you? Who are you? Who the heck are you, Court? I mean, what do you tell people? Kind of your background, what you do, and why you do it.
Well, I'm a concealed carry permit holder because I live in a rural area, and so I encourage everybody. There's education and training that goes with that, and some of it is something. I was raised by a lawman, and so I was taught that if a lawman's pinned down or there's trouble, you're there to help. You're there to see if you can be involved and save the lives of whomever. And so again, that's part of America. Growing up, that right was something we understood as a tremendous privilege. Gun safety was one of the most important things in my family.
You learned it. I mean, and my kids, my one son who has a gun, he's gone through that whole stuff, all the classes.
Congratulations, Dad, because he's going to be able to help somebody else. He's going to be able to train somebody else. And it's a part of our society, and it's an opportunity. It really is. We can reach other people and should.
So you're also a businessman. I mean, and you owned a place that many of us have been. Because we started
on
talking.
the river.
Yeah, on the Rogue River. So kind of tell people about that.
My family was there for over 30 years, just a mile down from Blossom Bar Rapids. So I made a lot of friends. It was a tremendous life. I actually retired, sold my lodge a few years ago, and so it's a very sacred part of Oregon. So it was a tremendous privilege as well to be able to raise my kids, my sons, in that environment. And we just met some of the most incredible people, Rick.
So why the heck do you want to run for Congress?
Because we're losing territory, figuratively and literally. The government is expanding too much, and it's stealing our wealth, it's stealing our liberty, it's stealing our prosperity, and as you well know, sooner or later it comes back to Oregon and the fires that we're having, the poor management of national public lands.
Which takes us to timber is a really big issue for you guys. Your campaign is because mill workers and getting timber jobs back, and because I think many of us, I think, kind of forget about timber because back in the 90s and even in the early 2000s, I was talking about it, but we don't see it as much. We're talking high tech, we're talking all this, but there's a lot of high tech timber work going on, and Swanson and a lot of people are really reinventing and doing some new things with this.
It's just incredible to see. It's almost fascinating, the amendments and the adjustments they're making to keep their people employed. And in Oregon, sometimes those companies aren't appreciated. They're not valued, and so what we need to understand about Oregon, and I think we all need to be reminded, including myself, is that nobody has the advantage that Oregon has. We grow the greatest, the highest quality, fastest growing trees anywhere in the world, and we're not harvesting near enough trees on public lands. The log trucks you're seeing nowadays, I was just telling Scott there a minute ago, 80% of them are from private land, and that's a resource that none of that comes back to the small counties as far as for law enforcement, for roads, for schools, right, for goodness sakes.
What a lot of people don't know is that the ONC Timbers revenues are what your whole district, and people wonder why the county has no money, why the schools are lost a lot of money, and why these services, because there used to be a three-legged stool, and public timber was part of that three-legged.
Yes.
And you take that ONC money out, and
there's 18 counties. I serve on the Association of ONC Boards, or ONC Board. We're harvesting about 2.2 million board feet every year. We're supposed to be able, through congressional law, do 500 million board feet. Rick, it grows. I think you're aware of this. It grows 1.2 billion board feet. So we either manage that well and we harvest properly, or it's going to burn. All the people I know that work within the Forest Service, the local people, they want to grow good, beautiful forests. They don't want to be a part of this fire monitoring. We lost 192,000 acres. It took $78 million to fight over a 3.5-month period, and that was the beginning of November. Now we have, because we're not harvesting, we don't have the money for rehabilitation, reforestation. We're even low on seedlings. And I point this squarely at the people that have been in charge of the Forest Service and the federal government for years and years, the green activists, the environmental, that small extreme group that has so much power. They can bull through the elected officials, and they can stall everything through litigation, and it is hurting the communities. My job.
How do you change that? How do you, as a congressman, how would you change that differently than our current Congress?
I think it's going to come from the administration. I think it's going to come from holding Congress. The biggest factor, really, in whether you're a Trump person or not, if the Republicans, in my view, lose control of the House, there's going to be an impeachment. It will tear this country apart. Now, I don't know what the residual of that will be. So my job is to persuade and to reach across the aisle and say, this is why this cannot happen. This is why you cannot let my county burn to this extent again. And neighboring counties. I got people that are sick from the smoke. 14 and a half days of severe to hazard category.
I had somebody say to me the other day, do you remember, like this, because this past summer, how smoky it got because of the fires? And somebody asked me the other day and said, do you remember, like 10 years ago, that ever dealing with this much, like this was not a regular problem? And I had never thought about that. And I went, no, I don't remember that ever being a problem.
And I think we've all been just a little bit, but in Curry County, I've lived with 3 massive forest fires.
You guys have had a big
the Biscuit Fire in 2002 took 500,000 acres. 500 billion acres, 500,000 acres, and that was the biggest fire in Oregon history. Now, we just reburned part of that, okay? So they're calling it Biscuit 1, Biscuit 2, and Biscuit 3. Biscuit 3 is actually the
How many biscuits
fire.
Can we burn?
It's just, and the danger for us is, in this, this should be the most, obviously, if you really compare to other forests around North America, especially continental United States, the Rogue Siskiyou National Forest is the most unique, the most wild, and the most rugged. It should be the most productive. It grows trees. I mean, we get the rains coming in off the coast, as you know, Rick, and it just hits 80, 85 inches per year. So we're losing that. And the other thing is we're looking at, with these massive continual reburns, these are not normal burn cycles. We all understand that's part of nature. Sometimes it's very healthy.
Right.
But when you get these mega burns that burn the soil down so deep that nothing can go back for 50 years, we're turning into a hardwood forest from an evergreen. The normal resistant Douglas firs they can withstand normal burns. They can't withstand these mega fires, some call nuclear fires or catastrophic fires. So when the hardwoods come back, the seedlings have a real tough time competing. The evergreen and the conifers have a tough time, reaching for the sun.
Right.
And so it's a serious issue because we're not logging. We don't have timber contracts to pay the government back, which is the revenue for reforestation.
So in terms of economy, that's what you're talking about, is we're focused on all other aspects of the economy, and the economy's doing better, but timber would really help boost that up for you.
If it's properly managed, that's why I want the states eventually to take control of the national forest. And some people go, but if you really think about it over a 10-year period, I'll take my chances. Let me give you an example. The Oregon Department of Forestry, it wasn't for them, and the way they pushed, prodded, tried to get control of that fire, we would have lost Brookings. So I give them incredibly high marks. They're not political, they're firefighters. And I'm so proud to know because, yes, I would have lost Brookings. 8,000 people, the fuel we have, it could be 10, 20, 100 times more than what Santa Rosa had. So all of Oregon, because we're not managing well, the risk is continually going up. We could lose, because of the smoke you mentioned a minute ago, we could lose in 2021. 185 countries coming here for the 2021 international track and field competition.
Because of smoke.
Because of smoke. Runners, as you know.
Yeah.
We cannot take that chance. And so there'll be hundreds and hundreds of media people here. Half the schools in the west part of the Cascades will have track teams practicing. They'll pay. It's an incredible thing. It's a source of pride for this state.
Not to mention, not to be cheap, but it's money.
It
brings a lot of business into the.
Why do they want to come to Oregon? Not for smoke. They want to come because it's the most. Of course, I'm prejudiced, but it's the most special state in the country.
So tell me this: so you have to beat Art Robinson in the primary in the next 15 days.
Yes.
Less than. Mm-hmm. And then once that goes on, I think the obvious question to people is then how do you beat DeFazio? That will be your opponent on the Democratic. He'll be the Democrat probably, right? Is he running? Is anybody running against Peter?
I think there's one gentleman by the name of Archangel, or forgive me if I mispronounce that.
So Peter may more than likely will end up winning that. So
he's going to retire at some point. Maybe we'll retire him this time. He's not a bad guy, you know. It's just there's some differences that we have. 32 years, the longest. In fact, I even want to say I have nothing against him, except I think we need new people in there. I'm concerned about Nancy Pelosi becoming the Speaker of the House again. And, you know, I'm not a party guy, and there's some entrenched Republicans and Democrats. I'm not going back there to make friends. I love people, and I will fight for, but at the same time, you can still be a fighter and do what you know has to be done. Term limit, give me 3 terms, maybe 4 terms, 8 years. Like the president, I think that's what's best for the citizens of this country and this state, and I sincerely believe that. I'll be 71, whatever, and so I think I think it's time. I didn't ask for this. I mean, I just tried to find somebody from the Eugene area I thought could really have a good chance. New people in, just like the military. They never leave the same general. They always have new people come in, and you cannot get entrenched. And
you think that America's ready for just some change?
I do. I'm convinced. I mean, what choice do we have? I mean, guys my age, I'm older than you, but you know, guys my age are looking around. We don't recognize our country, and we're going, we better get off our butts. That's why I'm here. To be in this gun shop it just represents America and all of our individual responsibilities, and so that goes into politics. The independent people, I believe I'll get a lot of independent votes and unaffiliated. The independents, they can actually write my name in.
Because people really don't care. A lot of people really don't care about party affiliation anymore. I mean, I'm right there, and everybody out there knows it. But it's like we just want people that are going to do the job.
They want their country defended. They want their families defended, their future defended, and they can care less about the party. In fact, if somebody's too party-oriented, they're probably thinking, okay, that person, man or woman, will go back and be part of the problem.
Right.
And I'm low risk. Anybody can go back there. Anybody can go back there and be corrupted. But the people I run with, they're going to hold me accountable. And if I fail them, they're going to kick my butt. I mean, family, friends, staff, they're dedicated to this cause.
So you're in trouble. So, you guys, again, Court Boice, he's the candidate on the Republican ticket running against Art Robinson. You should have your mail-in ballot in your house. If you don't vote, I'm sorry, I'm going to say a bad word, but if you don't vote, you don't get to bitch. That's how it works. If you vote, you can bitch all you want, but you have to vote to bitch. And good God, in Oregon, we send it to your house. And the only thing we don't do is give you a pin. A black pin to do it. So if you can't take the time to get educated and don't get your information out of the voter's pamphlet, that's just a propaganda piece. The only thing that's for sure is that little explanation right there. Everything else is people telling you what they want you to know. So you got to do your homework. That's why we're doing these. And yes, this is paid for by his campaign. Everybody that's a candidate coming on here is paying for it. They're paying the same price. So all full disclosure. But I think you deserve to hear from people, from them, and get a feel for what they are. And don't judge him by what he dressed like. Judge him by what you heard him say, and find out what you want to do. And then go vote, for God's sake.
Rick, thank you. And
you're welcome, man.
What you charge is a total bargain. And to the folks who are hearing my voice now, I just ask for your trust. Nobody will outwork me. Nobody will care more. I think it's time for change. And if you think I'm the person that will represent you with vitality and commitment, vote for me. Court Boice, C-O-U-R-T, last name Boice, B-O-I-C-E, and thank you.
Thanks, Court. And Scott, Gun
yeah.
Runners Arms here in Junction City. Yeah, I got it. I didn't say Cottage Grove. In Junction City, the big Junction City, the Scandinavian land. They're right as you come into town, super easy to find. And if you want to talk about any gun laws that are coming up, Scott, he'll fill your ear.
My website, if you have questions, courtboice4congress.org. Thanks again.
They're saying you got a great shop here. That's my shop. Everybody's liking it. All right, guys. So tomorrow we're back in town at Provisions. Next week we're at the Pearl Day Spa. We got the whole month is full. I think I have one day open. We got more candidates coming up next week. I got somebody I can't remember what they're running for, but we've got more people for you. So have a good day, and remember, get your ballot turned in, okay? All right, see ya.